Next, I'd like to talk to you a bit about some of the flexibility theory of sequential stretching. Muscles are flexible at birth for humans, but we lose flexibility due to lack of variety in how we position our body, as well as habitual unnecessary muscle tightening. So body positioning and movement commands can be given at different levels. So if you have to do something really quickly, like all of a sudden you got to move your hand over here, then I call that fast twitch. And most of your movements are going to be on autopilot from learned movements as to how to get your hand over to this point as quickly as possible. I could feel that I was pretty tense as I did that movement. And then we have average speed movements where you're like this. You might have some extra care for comfort in this, but most of the movement details are still going to be the automatic learned ways. And then what we like to do in sequential stretching is extremely slow movement. This lets you make sure that there's almost no tension that comes in as you move from one place to another. When you move really slowly like this lets you have the utmost attention to detail so that you can keep muscles from tightening up that don't need to tighten up. This extremely slow, gentle movement gives you time for unnecessary muscle tightening to be suppressed, for unconscious muscle control to take over, and it allows hibernating muscle fibers to engage. Muscles are made up of millions of muscle fibers. Each neighboring muscle fiber pulls in a slightly different direction, and there's an optimal set of muscle fibers in order to engage or relax for a given movement or a pose that you're going to do. For each of these movements, your neuromuscular system decides which muscle fibers to engage, which to relax. If you make slightly different variations in how you move and what your body positioning is, just the tiniest bits can cause your neuromuscular system to engage slightly different sets of muscle fibers. Fast movement generally requires more learned muscle set engagement, but slow movement allows new muscle engagements, where you might have a different set of muscle fibers that come alive and move you to a given position. If you never use some of your muscle fibers, they're going to go into a sort of hibernation mode where they're not ready to be engaged at a fast moment's notice, but if you do some coaxing, you can get them to come alive eventually. These hibernating muscles can build up into thousands of layers of muscle tightness that will build up into a knot. These knots prevent the neuromuscular system from engaging the optimal muscle fibers for a given movement.